So we were talking about controlling the mental virus and its variants caused by the three factors. Keep that in mind during the day. Attachment and detachment that results in sorrow and the suffering. We become pleasure seeker. And what happens? There is something which we say the doer and the enjoyer is created in the mind because of these three diseases. And if we start living the life of the Shreyas, then what happens? We start treating these viruses. But understand, it is all internal. It has nothing to do with external. So Shreyas means the mind is filled with the kindness, tolerance, humility, focus, aspiration for the real self. So it is, antivirus. So that we can respond to the outer situations of likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure effectively. Now, what happens because we meet with physical accident, we take extra care. But we meet with mental and intellectual accident almost every day, hundred of times. We don't care. Now I'm upset because of you. Are you special that you are upset because of me? Ask yourself. Now I'm upset. It's a bad morning. Now I'm not getting what I want. You see that? So these thoughts creates a habit. And once these habits are created, we go too far from the prayers. And this is all about projection. The mind creates those projection and the projection comes from these habit, instinct. So instead of discernment, the desire is working deep inside me with lot of expectations from the world, and that is how the mind creates the me world, and the me world feeds itself with lot of delusion, wrong notion, emotional dependence. Think of this. Think of this. So that is why last time we discussed about vidya dadati vinayam. Vinayam dadati patratvam, 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 patratvad dhanamapanoti. So there is a sequence to settle the mind in the Shreyas, knowledge, humility, qualification, ultimately inner and the outer wealth, and then the righteous life, happy life. That is the vision of yoga, meditation, tantra, kundalini, all that belongs to Eastern wisdom. That is what we discussed briefly last time. Now see that if we look at the modern lifestyle, it is based on the prayers. So slowly we have to increase the Shreyas in day-to-day life to unite with the existence outside. Unite with the existence. Our topic today is that how the mind is contracted and how to expand the mind. What happens when the mind is contracted? It expresses thought, behavior, and the action that creates multiple thoughts in the mind. And that keeps you fully busy, that keeps you all the time thinking in line with the prayers. When we think in the line of the prayers, mind is already gone. So now understand that why we need to tune with the existence. Be very clear and take this, contemplate and reflect uh, for a couple of days. First, let me give you an example. When we fire a bullet to hit a target, once the bullet is fired, now nothing depends on me. Now everything depends on what? On the power and the weight of the bullet, the target, the distance, and other factors. What I speak, how you receive, and what I wanted to convey, it depends on the existence outside. It does not depend on me. Otherwise, we say, I had a very good intention, that is why I told you this. But you made me upset. Do you see? You made me upset. So why I made you upset? Because of the shreyas factor is present in me. Does a tree outside makes you upset? Are you thinking in that? The house is as it is. Does the house makes you upset? Smartphone is lying here. Does the phone makes you upset? So that is what the tuning our life with the existence. I say something with a good intention. You may act, you may react. But why you act and why you react? You react because of the prayers, you act because of the shreyas in your head. Are you getting it? That needs to be changed. This is the universal law of the exchange that we covered briefly. Now come to why it happens. What is the contraction and expansion of the mind? When the mind is contracted by thought, speech, and action, it distorts my perception, creates projection of negativity, duality, conflict, and confusion. The moment you say I have a lot of conflict, I'm confused, it means the mind is contracted, squeezing. And when the mind is expanded, it dissolves all your fears, conflicts, confusion, and duality. How to understand this? I cannot live with you. One, I cannot live without you. Both are contraction of the mind. I give you some of the thoughts. I'm upset by this situation, condition, events taking place in my life, contraction. Enough is enough, contraction. I'm done with you, contraction. Very good. We'll go a little deeper. All these thoughts, speech, and action indicates that we do not have qualification to live with a person. Now, for example, you make a statement, I cannot live with you. So you don't have a qualification to live with that person. Are you getting it? You do not want to face a situation because you have strong likes and dislikes inside. Mental virus is present, and that virus hits you back in your thought, speech, and action. I'm upset by this situation. I'm upset with you. We discussed. We don't have qualification to live with a situation or a person or a condition or an event. It is mental qualification that is absent due to these three diseases. Are you getting it? Or still your mind has gone into the past and it is thinking about a person, how it happened, And I still believe that I cannot live with the person. Ask your mind. That mind is living in prayers. Are you getting it? We need qualifications of forgiveness, patience, kindness, right knowledge with the right perception to respond to a person's situation, condition that changes day to day. What is the most important point? I live with a low level of awareness or prayers. That creates the me word, and then I say, no, enough is enough. I don't want to talk to you. It is enough. I don't want to live. You don't understand. Are you special that so people should understand you? Why don't you understand others? Why don't you ask this question to your mind? No, I don't have time. That is why you are crazy. That is the contraction of the mind. You see? But what happens when we start living in Shreyas? It gives you the it minimizes the pain, it minimizes the resistance, it minimizes the reaction, it minimizes the suffering. Otherwise, impurity, ignorance, distraction, and wandering mind continues to live in me, with me. Mind is not 100% available to us, is the contraction of the mind. Now pay attention to understand this. We have an intense likes and dislikes that changes my thought, speech, and action. So there is a more projection than the right perception. So what happens to the mind? We give more and more. This is very important point. And once you understand this point, the life will change. What happens to the mind then? We want to take more and more attention from the others, from the person in the house, from the situation, from the condition at the workplace. That mind repeats itself and creates a habit. Habit makes the mind to respond impulsively, and now mind is controlled by attachment and detachment, and you will suffer. That is why you say, you wake up in the morning and you say it's a bad morning. That is why your thought, speech, and action comes out of the projection who is near and dear to you. The mind is not clear. I'm not ready to drop the wrong notion. I'm not ready to drop the wrong notion in the absence of right perception. Otherwise, what makes you busy? Tell me. It is the absence of right perception. Now see what happens. Projection is filled in the mind. Take one example. Say, for example, you have a dirty room. No, I hope that you don't keep your room dirty. But just for example, you keep the room dirty. You do not allow anyone to enter into your room. No, everything is okay. You need not to go there, come and sit there. So when the mind is not beautiful, you do not want to cherish or allow the entry into your mind, you block it. And that creates the resistance, that creates the reaction. Where are you getting it? I'm trying to be simple with these principles that I collected from one of the greatest texts. Our Kate is not there. He will say, which text? Now the conclusion is what? Am I a attention grabbing person or attention giving person? I am sad. Am I seeking an attention or am I giving attention? Ask yourself. I'm upset. I'm sad because I open myself to the world with the sadness, with the mood swing, with the frustration. So the person who is living the life of prayers is attention giving, attention grabbing. You pay me respect just after 10 minutes. Attention grabbing person. So after 10 minutes, you start smiling because I'm an attention grabbing person. Are you getting it? It's a very subtle but very big principle. You respect me. No, not people. Everyone is coming in time. You see that? Look at the teacher. Oh, you guys are not coming in time. So attention grabbing. This attention grabbing thought, feeling in the mind is caused by the three diseases. And that attention grabbing person has contracted the mind. The sadness will always follow. Frustration will always follow. Did you get it? Should I move ahead? Now, even if you don't get it, you try to get it. Now, what is the fundamental of this attention grabbing? You give attention to the people, the environment, the situation, and the condition. Your mind is focused. You don't need to react. You move with the humility, and the problem is solved. But there is a little deeper than that. Why I become an attention grabbing person? Have you ever thought of it? It comes, it has become my habit. And when it becomes my habit, I want to seek attention at home, at workplace, outside, in every situation and a condition. That attention grabbing person creates an ego in me. And once we have that ego in us, we constantly think of. We constantly continues to think. Yes, pay attention. First thing that we discussed that the moment you have spoken something with a right or a bad intention, the bullet is already fired. The thought has already gone to that person or to that group. Now, how it will impact you depends on the existence. Did you get it? Simple. I told you that you keep any object and leave the object. After you leave the object, it follows the universal law of gravitation. Isn't it? Same way, if I speak and think and act with the prayers means I'm acting out of the ego. Ego means I'm an attention grabbing person. attention-grabbing person that I perceive the entire existence is centered around me, it will defy the universal law of existence. And once it defies, it rejects, you are bound to suffer. That mind is contracted. What Shreyas does? What the Shreyas expands my mind. I live with the tolerance, I live with the kindness, I live with paying attention to the people, to the whole. And when you pay attention to the whole, you are an attention-giving person that dissolves your ego in the mind, and the mind becomes totally free. When the mind is contracted, we pay attention to the part of a person or a situation. No, you are responsible for it. Come on. He or she has different condition and situation in the life, and that is why how he or she can be responsible. So my mind remains calm. Let me understand the situation. Who can understand the situation? Whose mind is expanded? Whose mind is expanded? Who follows the path of the Shreyas? Who follows the path of the Shreyas? The knowledge. Vidya, Dada, Vinayam, humility. Knowledge, humility, qualification, and attention-giving person, you become the darling of the situation. You are dropping your habit. You are not instinctive. You are not impulsive. The life takes the right course. You enter into the movement of existence. Another thing that my master used to say that when I think, speak, and act out of ego, prayers, I'm seeking bigger with a tiny ego. Did you understand? I'm seeking the entire whole with a very tiny part that is ego. That is belittling behavior and attitude. That will keep your mind always crazy. You do whatever you want to do. You go to any psychiatrist, you go to any psychotherapist. No result will come. The mind is heavily programmed to perceive the world, to peep the world through a very small, tiny hole. I want to take the whole, but I want to give very little. The existence around me is totally unhappy. Why? Because mind is contracted. We create unhealthy conditions first around us, then around with whom we live and act. That mind creates doubt even about these knowledge. Contracted mind is sinful. Mind contains sense that takes our life from the existence, and then we feel that, oh, I am suffering. Contracted mind strips everything that is good, noble, and kind from the life. Contracted mind strips one of the humility, attention, right action, peace, and happiness. You do meditation for 20 years, no result. So whether we understand the movement of the Shreyas with reference to expansion of the mind, dropping and dissolving that ego, that is controlled by the prayers, or we understand through the universal law of the existence. I come to you and I'm frustrated with you. It is only because I did not get the attention I was seeking from you. Am I right? How simple it is. Are you getting it? So now that mind keeps working through the thought, through the expression. Okay, how are you? Now I did not get enough attention from you. So then you ask me, how are you? No, I'm fine. Are you sad? No, I'm not sad. Have you seen people talking like this? Have you seen? So you are creating enough resistance to destroy your own mind. Our goal is we should absorb into that state of meditation where the knowledge is revealed within, and what we say the awakening should take place. But as long as this tiny ego is there, it will prevent that awakening. Yes, we will understand what are the steps that can help me move to the Shreyas. What are those steps and the practices